Hey folks, this is Ben Gessel. This will probably be the last video I'm making on this, at least for tonight. Um, Part 3, how we see other people. Okay, well, considering everybody I've known in my life, everybody's secret, or not so secret, woes and shortcomings and sins, and also strengths and nice things about them, all this stuff. Let's think about different kinds of people, shall we? How we see different kinds of people, how I see different kinds of people. Maybe some of my own shortcomings in this regard. Well, isn't it funny how, even from a, say, political standpoint, you might think of someone as being conservative or liberal, and or white or black. I hate to think of it that way. I never see race in regards to who I hang out with. I just see culture mainly. To be honest, I do. But culture is just more of a nice little spice of someone's personality. But it's true. For some reason, majority of people I tend to communicate with on a regular basis are Caucasian. Though I imagine Asians factor in there somewhat because of where I live. Would love to know more black folks. But it's not because they're black. It's because of, well, so many people in the world anyway. So, yeah, I mean, to me, it just doesn't matter, really, race. I've known too many people in my life that are good and evil, with many different backgrounds, to ever make any real strong decisions about that. So I know no matter what anyone else says, I'm definitely not racist. That's just a ridiculous way of thinking. But you can look at someone as conservative or liberal, someone as agnostic or Muslim or Christian or Jewish or Hindu or whatever. And there are stats out there. There are studies how people see people from other religions, how much they like or don't like them. When I see that stuff, yeah, Mormons are kind of farther down the list. You know why? Because so many people feel like they're being judged, being seen as being sinners. But the funny thing is what isn't communicated there in that respect, by the way, is that we all, on some level, want to understand others better. We should. And if we don't want to understand some people better, it's just a question of time before we do. You can think about that however you want to. But anyway, yeah. Talk about being truly evil and concepts like that, like Hannibal Lecter and the Joker and stuff. We try to understand this concept and think about demons and Satan, but the thing is such a small percentage of anybody that's ever lived on this earth that you can even remotely consider as being completely evil. It just doesn't happen. People are mixed. People are mixes of good and evil, trying to sort things out. It's a struggle every day, you know. But again, getting back to this view of Mormons, people don't like to be judged as being evil. Well, it kind of sucks for all of us if you think about it, because it's hard. Life is hard. When someone says, "Oh, it's not really that big of a deal," this or that, it's not that big of a deal. Do you really hear that coming from people that are not Mormon all the time? It's to tell you the truth, I would just venture a bet. I would venture a bet that nobody likes to be seen as sinful because it is something, the stuff that is going on that they know then that's wrong, and they don't want to confront it. They don't want to face up to it. And we don't like to be called on that stuff. And we have all kinds of reasons why we do stuff that's not right. And who are these people, saying this stuff? And who are they to tell me that whatever I'm doing is wrong? Why? It's not always the Christians, it's not always the Mormons you're talking about. Here, it's a lot of people saying this stuff. Heck, let's look at Hinduism. Actually, let's look at Buddhism for a second. We're talking about giving up everything you have. Talking about reaching nirvana because you have lost your attachment to things that are things, right? Things, not people necessarily in a way. This is kind of well, that's a different subject. But let's just say, I know they're talking about, right? That whole idea of reaching nirvana because you're so unattached to material things, to earthly things. It's an interesting concept, really. But I feel like we haven't got there yet, right? We're so attached to things, whatever it is, right? I'm not talking about people. It's a different. I mean, I just mentioned before. This is all about people. This is all about understanding people better. So, I'm of the opinion that we do need these relationships. We do need them, right? Anyway, but we won't. I don't want to debate Buddhism here, or being a monk or whatever. Let's talk about my church a little bit. Maybe Christianity again. Regarding understanding other people, I mentioned this political thing. It's really easy to feel like you're part of a group that when they accept you as being part of their group. And let's talk about groups here for a second. What are the groups I'm talking about? Well, you have your conservative Christian Caucasian group, conservative Christian Caucasian, CCC, right? Oh yes, conservative Christian Caucasian. You definitely have that group going on. And they will let you know if you're not part of that group. And you might feel pretty high and mighty being a member of that group. But let's just talk about some other groups here for a bit. Black, Baptist, and Beautiful. Okay. You see what I'm saying? Okay. I'm sorry, folks. It's too hard to avoid the alliterations here, but yeah, you have your Black Panthers and Black Hebrew Israelites, and you have your. I know I'm talking about race here for a bit, but let's just go on. I don't know. Talk about conservative versus liberal. Talk about Muslim, Asian, tiger moms, soccer moms. Talk about the Elks Lodge, the Mason, local Masonic Lodge. Talking about Skull and Bones and Illuminati. Talk about the wealthy folks, how they talk and act and operate, just are. And feeling it outside of that group or inside that group in some extent. To some extent, you can talk about, being the only white person in Japan that you can tell. Maybe some other only Asian person in Maine. In your area. You talk about the only black person being in Finland, right? You can talk about being the only Indian, East Indian. I'm talking about Indian from in Chile, and so on and so forth. You can feel it, but you can also talk about being the only Mormon in Vermont, or you talk about being the only Muslim, right, in Korea. So you can feel isolated. You can feel apart from your group, and your group, you'll know that they're your group because they'll accept you as being part of their group. You can talk about cliques, gangs, Bloods and Crips, and Vatos, Latin Kings, MS Salvatrucha, I can't remember the name of it, MS-13, and the Mafia, and, the pretty boys, and the metrosexuals, and the yuppies, and the hippies and the stoners and the goths and the emos and um, the, you know, the nerds and the geeks, the jocks, the popular folks, the preppies, the wasps, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, the white Anglo-Saxon Mormons, the WASMs. You could talk about Wasians. Talk about people that are both black and white, where they fit in. Talk about people with disabilities, kind of being buddies. Talk about Asperger's syndrome and all the attendant intellectual and emotional issues and advantages, and Tourette's and bipolar. Talk about the obese folks, the people that just can't stop eating candy, soda, drinking soda, carbs, carbs. You know, a little greasy, but mainly carbs. Soda, juice. Talk about people that just are fitness freaks. They're always out working out. Talk about people that are very cheerful as opposed to people that are very sad and miserable. Talk about any conceivable group that you can possibly think of in any way, shape, or form. And there's a group that exists that you might feel a member of, a part of, included in. And you know what? These groups, are they real? Is there any stability to them? How much should we really value being a member of that group? How much of ourselves, how much of our personalities are involved in this? If you watch Cobra Kai, which many of you guys do, this is much of what we're talking about here. Where do you fit in? Are you a Miyagi-Do or are you a Cobra Kai? And I was going to say, I wish there was more karate schools that were in these movies and things, but hey, it can only be so long and only so interesting and complex. Maybe one or two more would have been nice. You have the Durley doll play the guy from another school, and Karate Kid 1. Yeah, that was nice. And of course, in real life, he was a much more. I know. You get into Karate Kid 1, you kind of research that on your own. It's a gentleman who has a more, I think, Southeast Asian ancestry. I'm not entirely sure about that, but definitely darker complexion than being Japanese or Korean or North Chinese. Probably Southeast Asian or Filipino. Anyway, or something like that. But we wonder, which one are we? Are we in Gryffindor? Are we in Slytherin? Are we in Ravenclaw? Are we in Hufflepuff? Are we a Jedi? Are we a Sith? What color lightsaber do we have? Do we have a red lightsaber, a purple lightsaber, a blue lightsaber, a green lightsaber? Are we Trekkie or Warzy? Do we go to these conventions, cons? Con, the very name Con. You should try, think about it a little bit. It might be either Connie a little bit. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Sci-fi cons. Sakura Con, anime conventions. Star Trek, cons. Comic cons. I don't know. Fantasy cons. There's a lot of them. Is it just those? What is it that you identify with? Is this a part of your personality? Is this a group, or is it just one facet of your personality? You ever at these conventions and you're starting to feel like you're out of place? You shouldn't be there. It's just weird. Maybe you feel like there's this one thing you want to do. They're just weird. I've been to one before. It doesn't really always matter which one you're going to, as long as you have some degree of interest in what it is they're talking about. But, gosh. Yes, I very much understand just wanting to get out of there sometimes. You never know what to expect until you go. It's kind of the same deal with school. We're so nervous when we go to school for the first time. We don't know what to expect. We don't know. We don't know if it's gonna, especially the first time. We go to college for the first time. We have some emotional baggage, social baggage, whatever it is. We hope for the best. We're kind of hoping that things go really well. We don't know what's involved with different professors and why they act the way they do. We don't know what their contracts or what they must or must not do. We don't know what kind of education we're getting. There's a lot of things we just don't know. Again, getting back to the whole social train of thought here. I mean, again, I know I was only making one more video, but I might make another one. I can't. I'm just like I'm on a roll here. Whatever it is, honestly, that we honestly think about whichever group we feel like we belong in. And there are people that consciously avoid being part of groups because of this whole group think, right? Whatever it is that we feel like we identify with, whoever we identify with, we're probably going to get to a point in time, at some point, when we say, I was kind of an idiot. It's just going to happen. It's going to happen sooner or later. It's like, what have I done? I'm going to say it. You're going to say it. We're all going to say it. Whether we're 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, or 90. Or the next life. We're going to say it. I'm such an idiot. What was I thinking? I'm so sorry. I'm probably going to have, I can't tell you how many people are probably going to say that or feel that on some level toward me. And I'm going to probably feel the same way about many other people. We're just going to go around in the afterlife apologizing all the time. Of course, there's a lot more that's been going on than just that. But there's going to be a lot of apologies. Because guess what? In the afterlife, in my opinion, we're going to be free from... it's just going to be clear. Everything's clear. A lot of things are very confusing in this life. It can be very muddling. A lot of things that can confuse us regarding other people and their character. But if it's not apologies, believe me, it's going to be arguments. It's going to be heartfelt reunions. It's going to be stronger or more divided relationships. But whatever it is, it's going to be for real. We're going to have much more of a sense of reality, what's happening with other people. We're going to feel ashamed. We're going to feel embarrassed. We're going to feel whatever it is, it's just going to come. We just, that's why we try to live good lives in this life. Try to be honorable people. One of the reasons. We don't always want to think about, of course, every single act we do, whether that's good and evil. It's just can kind of be a paralyzing way of living. But what we want to do is realize that these relationships aren't going to just end. We can build walls. We can say who's are going to be our friends, we're going to marry, who's not going to be our friends. Who are we unfriending on Facebook? Who are we unfriending on Facebook? We can, who just isn't quite up to snuff? Who just isn't really worth our time? Oh yeah, we can go on and on in that whole train of thought the rest of our lives regarding all kinds of different kinds of people. We'll get to the point where at some point we'll just say I was such an idiot. The more we think that way. So there are people I've known that definitely think this way. I've known people like this. They shut people out entirely. It's just not worth my time. It's just not my thing. It's just not my... And the more you're around those people, and you really don't always want to be with that kind of person, but you're going to have to be, the more it can really suck. I can tell you about that whole thing too. It can really suck. And you try so bad every single day to be nice to that person, be kind to that person. And they never really get it, do they? Maybe they will. But who knows? It's kind of in God's hands. It's one of those things. Oh, I just don't know. I'm going to leave that one up to God. After all we can do and say, it's up to God, right? Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, how we treat people. What do we see in people? Is it always so important to, like if we just honestly don't really have a relationship with someone, we just don't care about that person, they don't feel love from us. If someone doesn't feel love from us, they just feel like we don't really care about them that much. No, we're just somebody that stands in need of correction. We're just somebody to be corrected, to be made to feel worse than this other person. Just go ahead and send your barbs my way. It doesn't matter how much they sting. We're just going to put up with it, deal with it. When someone feels that way, gosh, if you tell them to repent, how effective do you think that's going to be? It's just like, you'll feel things from people when they say things. Oh, you will. You will. So some people will just give up entirely on saying repent because they just feel like they don't know anybody that they are really close to that really stands in need of repentance. But I'm an advocate of not saying that very often, but again, you just try to love first and be kind to other people first, and then maybe, depending on the situation, most of the time we don't call people to repent. What we do want, though, is people to shape up in some way, however they can. We want people to be better people, I would think. Why would we want people to be worse? So that we can feel better for being worse ourselves? Yeah. Let's just be honest. Yeah. We are lazy. Let's just face it, some of us are very lazy. We want other people around us that are lazy so we can feel better about being lazy, okay about being lazy. And sometimes being a little lazy is okay. It's just a question of... yeah. So, some of us, this is the way we are. We are socially oriented people. We want to be around people that are like us, that think that some things are okay and other things are very wrong. And if that meshes with our way of thinking, then we want to be a part of that group. That means something. Similar morality, similar way of seeing morality. We might be tempted to think in terms of relativism, which advocates that all ways of viewing morality are equally moral, as opposed to absolutism, which is, nope, there's one standard for everyone. Doesn't matter what religion you are. If something is moral, it's moral for everyone, or immoral. We can fall into either of those two camps, and we can even make those camps groups. We can be part of the absolutist group or the relativistic group. Sometimes erroneously known as conservative versus liberal, but when we talk about politics with all this stuff, I often feel like people just want to confuse. That's what politics is. It's confusion. It's confusion because if you can have governments that confuse people well enough, keep them in confusion, they won't know if you're abusing the power that they give you. No, but people honestly believe that governments try to be as clear as they can be with, oh yeah. Well, maybe if we're talking about a very small nation where you personally know the president and you know his character, maybe that kind of place is pretty transparent. Maybe Switzerland, maybe. We talk about Switzerland, talk about the Swiss banks accounts, gosh. I have heard some interesting things about the Swiss bank accounts as well as those Cayman Islands. But hey, that's a different subject, right? So, I don't know. I know I need to make another video here in a bit about this stuff, but it's just... So my main point with this video, by the way, if I were to sum it up right now, is we have this tendency to group people, make these categories. We all do on some level. It isn't just people with Asperger's syndrome. We do this too, but we do this in a manner that helps us make more sense of the world. I think on some level, it's just easier for us to make sense of the chaos, the utter chaos that is out there. If we can group this person in this category, this person in this category. So somebody could call an Asperger's syndrome person a racist because they have a black category and a white category. But all that's going on is you're just trying to make better sense of the world. You're not necessarily putting any judgment statements on it. You're just trying to categorize people. You're trying to because there's so many different categories. And that's kind of an Asperger's thing, by the way. But other people do it too. We all do that at some level. It's just a question of if we make those value judgments, put those value judgments on these different categories. And then I think we all do that on some level, of course. We just try not to do that with race these days, I would hope. Yeah, that's just the way things are in modern times. So, at least in the West. So, more or less. So, yeah, categories, cliques, labels, stereotypes, socioeconomic status, criminals. And you think of a group. It's likely if you think of a group, it probably exists, and you're probably going to be fairly in the right ballpark. The older you get, the more that group will probably let you in or not. Am I going to be ever in the cool crowd? Well, what is that? What did that even mean in junior high or high school? Did it mean just those guys that look handsome and those girls that look really attractive? And they'll smile at you, but you never really feel that strong of a connection with them because somehow they just don't value your company as much. Is it that group? That's the cool crowd? And what if it changes in college? And what if it changes again after college? And what if it changes when you're older? Well, where's the cool crowd then? And did it ever mean anything? And was it just, hey, we are the ones that are sought after at any point in time. We are the ones that people want to be more like in some way. So, yeah, we are cool, right? The trendsetters, the people with money, the people with intelligence, the people with connections, the people with the swagger and the suaveness and the no pimples and the big muscles and you just keep going. Yep. The cool crowd, as opposed to the misfit crowd, right? Well, yeah, that's kind of another way of looking at life as opposed to conservative versus liberal, the cool crowd versus the misfit crowd. Who do we feel a part of? When Stephen King made It, he made the Losers Club. Were the Losers Club really losers? No. They were not. Not a single one of them. Who made them feel like losers? Parents, some of them. Bullies, some of them. People that they admired, but the people that they admired didn't admire them back. Some shortcoming that any of them might have had to make them feel like a loser. Whether it was the complexion of their skin, whether it was how much money their dad made, mom made, or the part of town they lived in, or religion, or they had glasses, or their mom was insufferably overbearing, or whatever. Yeah, they were all winners. They were just equally persecuted. And so they came together because they wanted to feel better. They were miserable. They had strength in their group. And how many of us want that kind of group for ourselves? We all want that kind of group for ourselves. It doesn't really matter what the label is. We just want to be a part of that group. So when we are not part of that group, how do we function? How do we survive? Sometimes it can be very liberating. Very, very liberating. Very liberating be not a part of any group for a long, long time. Me personally, here's one of the groups that I'm involved in, the Laya Symphony Orchestra. Now, I don't know many of those folks, but we are a group. We perform. We actually pay dues. That's not so fun to be in it, but yeah, there's definitely a connection there. On some level, there is. And there definitely is a connection with the folks in my own section, horn players. Yeah, you better believe that's a group. That's one of many groups that I'm part of. Is it wrong to be in a group? No. The question is, how much of ourselves and our identity do we associate with these groups? And again, do we get to a point where we say, I'm such an idiot for investing so much of my time and energy into thinking I'm part of this group at the expense of other groups that we could be in? But God understands that I think we can't do everything in this life. He knows what's going on. I know he does. It's just an emotional reason. There's an emotional feeling I get that's stronger than other times, knowing that it's real. Talking about those emotions again, it isn't something you can. It's not something tangible. You can not trust it if you want to, but that's understandable. It's very understandable. Hey, life is life, but you know, life. If more than anything else, by the way, I want everyone to understand that they don't know a lot. If they think they do, it's only a matter of time before they realize that they don't. And that's one of the reasons why one of my horn professors did have kind of that attitude, which I think is right. He tried to be very, very, you grow up in a, I'm going to say this thought for next video. Take care, guys. Bye.